Would love to.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another great session with FIRST RGV. My name is Jason Arms, and I'm the president of FIRST RGV Incorporated and RGV STEM. And today's session is going to be specifically about the FIRST Ambassador Program. And I know this is something that is not very well known, but after today, it will be known. So I'd like to introduce a FIRST senior mentor and a long-standing, excellent individual in the FIRST community, Mike Henry out of San Antonio, that's going to let us know more about the FIRST Ambassador Program. Mike.
Thank you, Jason. And as Jason said, my name's Mike Henry. I'm a FIRST senior mentor in working out of San Antonio. And the FIRST Ambassador Program is something that I learned about many years ago. It's been around for a while, but now that we are doing more and more events, the FIRST Ambassador Program has become more important. It is a program where students are selected and go through training to be ambassadors at events, and they provide a lot of support, mainly tours for VIPs and guests to events, but there are other things that they get involved with. So today we have Riley Lippenholz from the BroncBotz Team 3481 in San Antonio. And Riley is going to do the presentation today on the Student Ambassador Program, and then we will come back and have a bit of a Q&A at the end. So Riley, take it away.
Hello, everyone. Like Mr. Henry was saying, my name is Riley. I have been on FRC for about 7 years now with BroncBotz, and I've been ambassador for so long that Mr. Henry has dubbed me the South Texas Student Ambassador Coordinator. Just to give you a bit of an idea of how involved I am in this, I absolutely love being a student ambassador. It's a really great way to make contact with the people that impact FIRST, and really just to tell people what FIRST is and how much it's impacting students. So I wanted to start off by talking about what a student ambassador is. So a student ambassador is a person who works to share FIRST with guests and VIPs and attendants. So your goal is to tell people what FIRST is and what it's about. Your goal is to engage the guests by talking about all of the different aspects. You talk about the community and the build season and the game, and what inspires you to keep being committed to FIRST and keep being involved. Your goal is really just to keep people involved in FIRST and make them want to be here. Usually a student ambassador is a student at the competition your team will be competing, but if you're not, you can just be a volunteer, but you will be responsible for, getting to and from the competition, your meals, your accommodations, if you're not going to be competing with a team. When it comes to experiences and skills, you need to know the general information about FIRST. You need to know when the build season is. So, normally that would be kind of a January to March, and then competition season from March to April. Not this year because of COVID, but we work with what we've got. Robot design aspects. So generally drivetrain, lift, climber, elevator, intake, and be able to point those out on different robots, and then the FIRST programs. So in case you weren't aware, Junior FLL has now merged into FLL. There's 3 levels now. FIRST Discover, FLL Discover, which is pre-K through 1st grade, FLL Explore, which is 2nd through 4th grade, FLL Challenge, which is 4th through 8th grade. And then of course you have FTC, which is 7th through 12th grade, and then FRC, which is 9th through 12th grade. You don't need to know all of the details about those programs, but you do need to know what level you're competing with and talking about, and you need to know kind of the general names and age levels. When it comes to detailed knowledge of FIRST, you need to know kind of the different main strategies for each game. You need to know what the objective of the game is. So for example, scoring the balls or placing a hatch or climbing. You need to know the general score values. You don't need to know by point, but you do need to know, this scores more points than this. And then robot build restrictions. So is the robot 4 feet or 5 feet tall? What is the perimeter? How heavy is it? And then really you do need to have strong interpersonal and communication skills, because you need to be able to talk with these people for the entirety of their tour. Moving on, your responsibilities include tours of the pit and fields. If there's multiple fields, you do want to show them all of them, but usually they're going to be in the same space. And when you're going into the pit space, you are more than welcome to share your team with them, but you do also need to introduce them to other teams. So just make sure that you keep that in mind. You need to interact with teams, including teams that are not your own and other students. You need to connect with your guest. If you have shifts, which is generally more at the world level, I don't know that we've done shifts yet at necessarily the state or even the individual event level, but if there are shifts, you need to check in early. And at the end, you need to return all badges or signage that you've borrowed, because it does not belong to you. For the tour, you need to know where you're going. You need to know generally where the bathrooms are in case your guest asks. And you need to be familiar with where you are. You don't want to get lost. You should always be prepared for a last minute guest. There's been multiple times where Mr. Henry has stopped by my pit and said, "Hey, Riley, can I grab you for a tour?" "Sure, just give me a second, I'll wrap up." You will usually be either in a pair or like a small group of 3 ambassadors. And there can be anywhere from like 1 to 5 guests per pair of ambassadors. I think I had kind of a small group with me a couple times, especially at larger competitions. Now we're going to hop into behavior. So how a student ambassador should act. When you have an introduction, it needs to be a strong handshake. Please don't limp fish people. Like that's like the most annoying thing. It should be a strong handshake, not kind of one of these like limp fish things. You should introduce yourself, your team name and number, maybe where your team is from. You need to be polite. You need to make eye contact and be confident. You need to be loud, because if you've ever been at a competition, you know that those pit space and that field space is loud and that they're not going to be able to hear you if you're whispering. And smile, have fun with it. They want to see why you love FIRST so much. Attendance, especially important if there are shifts. You're going to make a commitment to walk around guests. So you need to make sure that you're paying attention to time, especially if there are shifts. The way that we always get in contact is through like GroupMe or something like that. So make sure that you're checking, whatever platform you're using to make sure that if you're being asked to run a tour, that you're going to be there. And if you can't make a shift, which I understand if your robot busts or whatever, just make sure that someone knows as early as possible so that someone else can step in and take that shift. When it comes to attire, it says look professional. You don't need to wear like a suit or anything like that. Just make sure that, your jeans don't have holes in them, that you're wearing closed-toed shoes, general things that are required at a competition for safety purposes. If a student ambassador shirt is provided, for example, at World Championships, you should wear that. Just put it over your team shirt, that's fine. Safety glasses, and I always try to carry around an extra pair or 2 of safety glasses to give to my guests. And then your team shirt, your team hoodie, your hat, your buttons, your whatever, your backpack. Make sure that you're repping your team for your guest. For safety, It's really about keeping yourself and your guests safe. So don't leave the venue with a guest. Do not go anywhere without your partner. Make sure that your guest has closed-toed shoes, like long pants, safety glasses. Don't give your personal contact information. I always carry around my head coach's business card. That way, if a guest wants to get in contact with me, they can go through my mentor. And you can collect business cards from your guest. Couple of like tips and tricks: be on time, be yourself and be confident, be prepared. Like I said, carry around stickers or business cards or whatever to make your guests feel welcome. Be flexible. Like I said, Mr. Henry has come in and asked me a lot of times to, can you run this tour really quick? We just had a guest show up and I don't have anyone else available. Make everyone feel welcome, because you want to make sure that your guest really likes FIRST and really wants to get involved, and just have fun with it. The more fun that you have, the more fun that your guest is going to have. This was a super quick presentation. At competition, you're probably going to go through a similar training unless you've already been through a training like this. It is really important to pay attention and just to remember all this. You don't need to like memorize it or anything. But if you want to contact me, that is my team email. So please feel free to email me there. And then this is the BroncBotz website. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the BroncBotz website. You'll notice that this is our website. On our FRC page, and I will probably move it over to the FTC page as well, all the way at the bottom. We've got a nice little ambassadors section here. These are a couple of different documents. There's my presentation at the bottom there, and a couple of different documents about what FIRST expects from our ambassadors and what kind of general rules and guidelines you should go through. So there we go.
All right, Riley, I think that was a great session. I have a question for you though, Riley. Since I'm fairly new to the ambassador program, is it just for FRC or can it be for any of those programs? Could we use the ambassador program at like an FTC regional championship maybe?
Yes. So ambassadors, you'll find ambassadors at pretty much every competition, at least on the FTC and FRC level. There's no limit to it. It's really just about students being able to show what FIRST is. So it's not limited to FRC. That's just where I predominantly compete for, like I have for a couple of years now. So I'll be an ambassador at, FTC competitions if BroncBotz is there, especially since I'm more of a mentor figure for FTC at this point. But it is everywhere, and I love seeing ambassadors. The younger the better, because being cute helps with that. So.
Mike, I guess that leaves you and me out then.
Well, yeah, the cute part is special. And I do. So Riley, I wanted to emphasize a couple of the things that you brought up. The FIRST student ambassadors do sign up in the volunteer management system. We ask that they do that, but they don't. It depends on the event. Sometimes, like at the championship, the FIRST FIRST ambassadors can do things like they have meals and they have other things, but depending on the size of the event and the budgets that are there, sometimes the student ambassadors they're still listed as a volunteer, but they are not always able to like partake of the volunteer benefits. And a lot of that is because, especially at a smaller event, the teams, usually the ambassadors are traveling with their team, I would say almost always. Therefore, they actually would prefer to eat with their team and to be in the pit with them as much as possible. So it's a little different depending on the event. Typically, the larger the event, the more involved and more detailed the role as an ambassador is. So, but we do try to have ambassadors at every district event and state championship, and then at the world championship. I do want to emphasize that to be an ambassador at the World Championship, you actually have to go through a totally separate application
Yes.
and take a test. It's much more involved generally than what we do at the state and local level, but it's also a much bigger role at the championships because there are probably 200 ambassadors that are chosen, both FRC and FTC.
Yeah.
And the training is pretty extensive for that because you're dealing with some of the top sponsors and VIPs that FIRST really wants to impress.
I will say that in just keep an eye out for people asking for ambassadors. In 2018, there were actually not enough students registered. So I was invited. They came to our pit because I guess maybe Mr. Henry, someone told the ambassador people about BroncBotz and came into our pit and asked us if we had any students we could spare. And so me and a couple of other students actually got registered at the competition and did like a really like last minute training because they needed additional students. So just keep an eye out. If you forgot to register beforehand, there's a pretty good chance that you'll still be able to be involved. You just need to talk to the coordinator and determine how you can get involved a little bit later than everyone else. There's always space for more ambassadors. So.
And truthfully, because of that particular occurrence is one of the reasons we have started doing the student ambassadors on a local level, because we want to never have the issue of not having enough trained ambassadors ready to go if something happens. It's not that students don't like to be student ambassadors, but because they are typically traveling with their team, they may want to go to the championship, but if they're not close and their team doesn't make it, they probably can't be there.
Right.
And so we have a lot of last minute additions and cancellations. And so flexibility is the key. And I do want to emphasize that at our local events, what we usually do is have an ambassador table that's kind of evolved over the years. Originally, we had a separate ambassador table, and we would have a sign-up sheet, so we would have people manning the table or womaning the table all the time. And that was where we would have a shift kind of system. People would sign up to cover about an hour or so. I never really wanted to have a situation where we had the same group of students there stuck to that table all day long.
Right.
But it's evolved a bit in that last year, when we did have live events, we were actually using the ambassadors also to help with volunteer registration and to give out information to people who just came up, not necessarily just for a tour. And that seemed to work really well, expanding that role of the student ambassador.
Yeah.
So we've had those kind of things.
I'm just gonna reiterate being flexible. I'm the team captain of BroncBotz, and with that, I am our main catter, one of our main design and manufacturing people. We've only got 2 electrical people on our entire team, and I'm one of them. And I'm also one of the people who tends to, 1, fix the robot if it's like super, super broken, or 2, go to other people's pits to help them fix their robot. And so there was definitely a couple of times where, I might have had a shift that I was signed up for, or I was supposed to be somewhere, and I had to text Mike Henry and be like, I can't make it. I'm in someone's pit helping them fix it, or my robot is like super, super busted. I'm so sorry, but I can't. And you just have to there's also been times where someone else's robot's been broken, and I've had to go and take over their guest or take over their shift. And so you just have to be flexible and be able to kind of move around and make it work. Everyone knows that. If you're on FRC, if you're on FTC, you know how to make it work, because things never go the way that they're supposed to go.
That's absolutely true. Riley, I wondered, I know you mentioned this in your presentation, but can you explain what being a student ambassador has meant for you personally? I would say, in addition to all the things that FIRST brings.
So I've always been about encouraging FIRST. In the last year alone, I've done over 400 hours worth of demos with my team. Um, so being an ambassador is really about being able to spread FIRST. There's been multiple guests that I've led around who specifically sponsor my team. Like I've done a couple of SolidWorks representatives and brought them around to other SolidWorks teams in my team. It's about being able to connect our sponsors with the actual competition and with the team and with the program. So it's about encouraging everyone to get more involved and to stay involved and to really engage them to show how their sponsorship and how what they're doing is really affecting students. I was given the opportunity to lead I believe he was a sergeant in the Army at Alamo 2018, I think. And he was so involved that he actually had his daughter join the team the next year. I was given a challenge coin for my tour and for how much I taught him about that. And I believe that he actually is now a mentor on a team up by Lackland. So
I know exactly who you are talking about
yeah.
because he actually does, this is off the topic, but he actually does the what's the right word? He does the robots for the Air Force that go out and look for explosives or dangerous things, and he has become so involved. He and another person that works with him are both mentors for the FRC and FTC teams that are at Lackland.
It's
One of our
Boston Blue, right?
nice
Am I
teams.
thinking of the right team? Boston Blue? I think I have that challenge coin like right up there. I look at it all the time. It's one of my favorite things ever. It was such a neat experience to get a challenge coin. He was so engaged and interested. I mean, he was talking about how like the different mechanisms of my robot and other robots were actually applicable to what he was doing, and how doing this kind of stuff is what actually is like impacting how he works. And it was a really awesome tour. It was really neat.
I think that's a really good testimonial about the impact of FIRST on people who are out in industry, in the military, where more and more there are robot related careers that are available. You know, the military loves to support FIRST events because they look at the students as one of their prime resources to recruit into the military. Same reason that big companies support FIRST. So
Well,
our ambassadors are a big part of that. I love that story because that just proves that point.
Mike, a couple weeks ago, I actually got to tour a hospital, and they have something there called the Da Vinci, and it allows them to do operations by robot over the internet. I'd be a little worried about the internet going down, but it's kind of cool that you can, as y'all know, I'm here in the Rio Grande Valley, so the fact that you can get a world famous surgeon working a robot, across the internet, and get that skilled surgery done down here was pretty cool. I mean, it is a very precise robot, and it's really cool. So yeah, I mean, robots are really getting in there, and I think that's a good testament, Riley, about how you took someone that really didn't know what FIRST was, you brought them in, you showed them, they saw your passion, and I think that's just a huge testament to why the FIRST Ambassador Program is important, because we know we have an amazing program here with FIRST. We just got to get more people to see it.
Yep. It's just about sharing. Just I FIRST has been my thing. I've literally been involved in FIRST since I was in fourth grade. Like literally 9 years of FIRST, 7 years with one team. So when I get talking about it, like I get this huge smile on my face and I start getting like really excited. And people tell me all the time, like, you are just like, you talk like I can talk about FIRST for hours. It's a little ridiculous. But when I start to show like how passionate I am about it, like people will listen. People are really, they're really keen to get involved with something that's able to positively impact so many students. And it's a great program.
Well, Riley, thank you so much. And I don't know, I mean, in summary, this is going to be a great, I was thinking this when you went through, this is going to be a great training tool for us to use for future ambassador trainings, because I envision making a copy of at least the first part. I don't know that we'll include the Q&A part in what we would do, but I could certainly see us clipping off the first part of this, your presentation, and using that as a training tool when we do our trainings at the individual events. And anyone who tunes into this, you're going to get really the training you need. And what we miss in this virtual world are things like, because we usually will practice giving handshakes. Well,
Right.
Handshakes are absolutely out. So I don't know what's going to take the place of that.
I
But
would say the elbow bump. There's a good
the elbow
Yeah.
bump,
yeah.
you know,
Handshakes. Doing practice is so important with handshakes though, because it drives me absolutely nuts when I go to give someone a handshake, especially a lady, and she does one of these and gives me the like limp fish.
yeah, the limp fish
Absolutely
is,
drives me crazy. I hate it. I hate it. Oh.
we're going to be in a whole new world of etiquette with COVID, is for sure.
Well, and hand sanitizer. I keep hand sanitizer. I've got one right there. I've got one right there. I've got one over there. I've got two in my car. I've got everywhere.
Oh yeah.
That and face mask are all over the place. So
Yeah.
well,
The
Riley,
hand
thank you.
sanitizers turned into the new cologne. So yeah.
Yes. Uh-oh, she's digging for something here. Oh,
Oh, that's
okay.
cool.
I want one of those.
You have to talk to Mr. Gabe. We have BroncBotz. They're so awesome. They're my favorite thing.
That is a great promotional item.
Yeah.
And so
I've got my 10-year hoodie on. I've got my team shirt on. I've got my BroncBotz mask.
you've got your mask and everything.
My hats are over there.
Wow, that is
I mean,
really
you've
cool.
got all of the things that you would need.
I've got gear everywhere.
So,
If I go to A&M, I'm gonna have to get rid of all my orange, and it's a problem.
uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's true. They
Well,
wouldn't
are
like
you
that.
style purple?
No.
I mean,
gosh.
maroon, not purple.
Okay. When I went for A&M, we can have this discussion later.
So, but Riley, thank you so much. And I don't, Jason, did you have anything to add?
I sure didn't. Other than Riley, I really appreciate your passion here in the Rio Grande Valley. We're all volunteers, and we do all this for free, and we do it all because we see the passion like students like you have for FIRST. So honestly, from the deepest part of my heart, thank you for being part of FIRST. It really makes our day, especially right now during COVID when we can't get together with our kids. We love you. Thank you, Riley. Mike, would you like to close us out?
I think we have said all that we need to say about this. And certainly anyone who wishes to contact Riley, she put up her contact info. My email is listed in so many places already that I am sure most folks have easy access either through the FIRST website or the FIRST in Texas website.
Yes.
Either of those has my name and email listed there. And so anyone wants to reach out and connect, they are welcome.
You can contact BroncBotz through the BroncBotz website. If you Google BroncBotz, you just have to make sure you spell it right. BroncBotz. Z. As long as you Google it right, our website is the first one to pop up. There's a contact us page there. We've got all kinds of resources on that website.
And don't make the mistake of going to the BroncBotz website.
Totally different. You gotta look, it's like a white web page with like blue, and you're gonna look for the horse logo, like this one with the orange mane.
Works for me. Well, sounds good. Well, Mike and Riley, I do appreciate y'all, and I'm going to go ahead and close out the stream. Thank y'all for joining us today. And as always, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at FIRST RGV, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel. We love you, and we'll see you soon.